I'm Scotty the Trainer. On this Scotty the Trainer Tuesday, I want to talk to you about rebuilding from the rubble. You know, as we are talking right now and as this video is going out, in just a few days, people are going to be returning to the lower northeastern seaboard after this tremendous storm known as Florence has came through. And they're going to go back and see what's left. Many are going to return to their homes. They're going to return to their businesses. They're going to go back and they're going to see what's going on there. Some of them, unfortunately, because of this turn of nature and this storm that has hit the seaboard, they're going to find out that what's left is nothing more than rubble. And they're going to make a choice. Do we move on and forget it? Or do we rebuild out of the rubble? Even more so than that actual storm that took place a few days ago and is still wreaking havoc right now on the eastern seaboard, is the struggles that we face when we look at the rubble of our life. Now, it can be anything. It could be the loss of finances, and we're looking at financial rubble, or it could be relationship rubble. Or it could be maybe you thought you should be farther than you are right now. You're looking at the rubble. The question is, do you walk on and start over again, or do you return back to the ashes, to the rubble, and do you rebuild out of the rubble, out of the rubbish that other people might say, give it up, but you see something there that was a part of your life? Well, let's talk about that. The first thing that you have to do, number one, is assess. You have to assess the damage. Whenever people return back after the flood and the rain has come, they're going to begin to assess the damage. Insurance adjusters will show up and they'll look at it and they'll assess how much it will cost and what pieces will be needed in order to rebuild again. And so that's exactly what we have to do in our life. Whenever you've lost something and you feel like you're left with a pile of rubble, you've got to begin to assess the damage. How hurt were you? I know I've talked to people and have sat with people and been with people in counseling to where they'll look and they'll say, I wasn't hurt at all by it. And what they're doing is they're masking and they're covering up the fact of the matter that they truly were hurt. We can't rebuild portions of our life without first assessing the damage and realizing exactly how damaged we really are. You can't go forward without first identifying the issue that is really there. The second thing is, when you do rebuild, you rebuild, number two, one piece at a time. One piece at a time. If you walked out of a horrendous marriage that fell to pieces, you can't just all of a sudden go from a divorce on Monday and then be married by Friday. And if you do that, the chances are that second relationship is going to be more horrid than the first because you didn't take time to rebuild one step at a time. I love the little story. So how do you climb the mountain, the highest of the mountains? You do it one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? You do it one bite at a time. We live life one day at a time. Somebody wrote one time and said God knew that man didn't have the capacity to handle life all in one shot, so he divided it into 24-hour periods called days. And he said, take it one day at a time. That's how you handle life. Now, once you've assessed how damaged you really are, how hurt you really are, all of the pain that's going on, now you can start to rebuild your life one day, one piece at a time. Number three, don't get distracted. Don't get distracted. Do you know that you can, if you are farming and you were trying to farm a row, you have to pick something in front of you and stay focused on it so that as you farm a perfect row. Now, if you stop and you watch a rabbit jump over here, you're going to look, and the next thing you know, you farmed rows like this. I always look when we drive by and we see all of those fields, how the farmers have farmed those perfect rows. Because they were focused. When you get focused on something, you can't get distracted from it. If you're working on right now losing weight, you're probably on some type of diet. You're probably trying to focus on some type of workout regimen. Now, you can't get distracted. You know what you can't get distracted by? Chocolate, chip cookies, cupcakes, candy, all of those things. You can't get distracted if you're trying to lose weight. If you're diabetic and you're trying to watch what you eat, you can't go running around eating chocolate cake and every sweet that there is out there, because you've got to stay focused. You can't get distracted. Too many people miss out on their success because they get distracted. They get distracted by people saying, well, you'll never get there. They get distracted because they didn't get as far today as they thought that they could be. I never ever will forget, back in 1993, I tore a muscle in my back. I went to a chiropractor who helped me rehab that muscle. And I remember I was going to her every single day for 2 weeks. At the end of the 14 days, then I started going once every 5 days. And I remember 3 days after going into this, she said, how did you feel? I said, well, I felt a little bit of relief, but it was only for like 20 minutes or so, and then it went back. She said, that's good. I said, how is that good? I'm still in pain. She looked at me and she said, because any progress is good progress. That's what we have to do in our life. When we look at all of the things that have burned down around us, relationships, friendships, marriages, relationship with children, jobs, whatever it may be that has reduced your life to some type of rubble, assess the damage, rebuild it one step at a time, and then realize, don't get distracted. Because even if you had a little bit of progress, just like my chiropractor told me way back in 93, and it's still true today, any progress is good progress. Life lived by the mile is not worth the while, but life that is lived by the inch is a cinch. Take it one moment at a time. You might not be strong enough to handle what's coming in a week, but you can handle the week if you break it down to one day at a time. And if I know the people that are listening to me, if I know people that are put on God's good green earth here today, and I know anything about God and how much He loves people, you and I, no matter how much rubble is around us, can rebuild out of the rubble. I'm Scotty the trainer, and as always, that's how I see it.